Yes! What's up, everyone? Welcome to Lowered Expectations. Thanks for lowering your expectations and hanging out with me here. I do appreciate it. For those of you who follow my channel closely and want to stay up to date on my latest experiments, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek on the latest experiment that I've been working on. It was actually a recommendation of a viewer that I partly tested, said that it wouldn't work, and now I'm redoing some testing on it, and it actually seems very promising. So I will show you guys that at the end of this video. In this video, we are going to be testing Cetane Booster from Redline to see if it can improve the burn quality of oil. For those of you who don't follow my channel, for the past few months, I've been doing all sorts of experiments with my heater trying to get it to burn waste motor oil. In one of my last videos, I did a comparison test between waste motor oil and new motor oil to see which one would actually work better. So we are going to start off with a new motor oil mix that consists of a quality motor oil at 70%, regular old diesel at 20%, and some gasoline at 5%. And even though the math doesn't work out right, we are going to be using some of this Redline Cetane Booster. It is 85 plus diesel fuel catalyst, Cetane Booster, and fuel lubricant. Now, instead of trying to explain to you guys what Cetane Booster is, I am going to read off what Wikipedia has to say about it. Due to its chemical composition, Cetane Improver has the facility to decompose itself at lower temperatures than diesel fuel. The additive's exothermic decomposition leads to successive fuel reactions that result in the start of the combustion at lower temperatures. So, basically what I think they're trying to say is that the Cetane Booster, when added to the fuel, actually doesn't lower the temperature at which diesel fuel will burn. What it actually does is it starts the burn itself. It has an exothermic reaction, which means it releases heat, and that actually aids in the burning of the diesel fuel, makes it burn quicker because there is actually more temperature in the combustion chamber. I don't know who needs to see this after seeing the intro to the video, but just in case, don't do what I'm doing. I'm going to be doing all sorts of silly experiments with my heater, and I would recommend that you don't do the same thing. Follow your manufacturer's recommendations, whether that be the fuel they tell you to burn, the way they tell you to operate it, or the way they tell you to install it. Doing what you see me do could get you injured, killed, damage your property, or cause a complete loss of property. So just don't do what you see me doing. Why would you? If you haven't seen any of my videos before, by the end of this video, you are going to be extremely impressed with how durable this heater is. If you've seen all 16 other videos in this series, then your mind is already blown at how amazingly durable this heater is and how much punishment it can take. If you want to get yourself one of these heaters, I have hooked up with VEVOR, and I have an affiliate link in the description below. So, if you want to get a heater that is similar to mine and help me out, go down to the description, click on that link, purchase that heater, and you will be helping me out because I get a small kickback. You will also get some help because there is a discount code, VVS10 for $10 off, or VV promo for 5% off store-wide. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, all the information is in the description below. Go check it out. I've got the heater running. I started it up on diesel. It is preheating before I switch it over to the new motor oil mix. And I figured out that for the 3.145 liters of oil that I'm burning, I needed 9.79 milliliters of additive. And so what did I do? I doubled that up. I put 20 milliliters in here, and that should do the trick. It is now fully warmed up, and I've started to switch over to the oil mix, so we'll watch the temperatures and see what happens. Not happy about this temperature. The heater has been running for about 15 minutes now. The temperatures have stabilized. I'll show you guys those in a second, but it doesn't seem as though the Cetane Booster is a cure-all. There is still a bunch of smoke coming out. I will show you guys that right now. Oh wow. I don't know how much of that the camera can pick up, but whew, yeah, that's not good. I really thought that this might work. I thought that the Cetane Booster would lower the temperature at which the stuff needed to burn, which would make it burn cleaner and hotter, but apparently that's not the case. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this run. I've marked off how much fuel is in it now, and we'll see how much it burns. It was completely full and it burnt this much before we had issues without the Cetane Booster. So we'll see if the Cetane Booster makes it burn more of this or less. I don't necessarily think this is indication that the heater is failing, but it's an indication that it's making a lot of smoke. Holy beans. I don't know if I actually put it in the video, but when we were doing this same test without the Cetane Booster, I removed the exhaust, looked inside, cleaned it out, put the exhaust back on, and fired it up on motor oil. So that's what we're gonna do in this test to keep it the same. I'm gonna shut the heater down without switching it over to diesel, and then I'm gonna take a look inside the exhaust, see what's in there. If there's anything in there, I will clean it out. Then we'll put the exhaust back on, fire it up on the oil, and continue with the test. All right, so you can see that is kind of tannish or brownish. That hasn't changed. That's the same as it was with burning the new motor oil mix. Now it's a new motor oil mix with the additive. And inside of here, I am getting a little bit of buildup. I would say a little bit more than a little bit, I guess. A little bit more than a little bit, he says. Sounds like something a politician would say. Well, pretty much instantaneously lighting. How's the smoke? Not much smoke at all. I don't see anything. We've got 198 in the burn chamber, but only 72 on the body for some reason. I find it very interesting that it's still maintaining 195 burn chamber temperature, but the temperature has dropped way down here to 166. If it were to drop to 166 and I didn't have this hooked up to it, I would be quite worried right now. Okay, maybe this is where it starts to struggle. I'm gonna lower the heat setting and try to get the temperature to come back up. We can quite clearly see here that lowering the fan speed drastically increases the burn chamber temperature. Can we go for a new record? We were at 222, the highest before. See if we can, 222. Are we still climbing? All right, I'm gonna leave it sit here for a minute and see what it does, see if it decides to start dropping or if it continues going up. Oh, we're starting to drop. We went 224, so what I'm gonna do is bump it up to the next speed. And here we can see as soon as I speed the fan back up, the burn chamber temperature drops off drastically. This is quite problematic because we need that temperature in the burn chamber to flash off the oil, but we're gonna continue with the test and see what happens, but I assume that is a problem. I'm gonna leave this run for a little while, we'll see what happens, but it doesn't look good. It is now 10:15. I don't know how long it's been since I saw you guys last, but we have burnt that much fuel. I started here, burnt down to this line, refilled the tank, and now I've burnt down to here. Looking at the temperatures, it looks like everything could be okay, but the exhaust tells a very different story. So the controller is showing 200 Celsius right now, and the thermocouple on the burn chamber is showing 178, 179, around that, 352 Fahrenheit. But the exhaust, I actually just put the muffler on to try to get the smoke to go further up into the vent. And yeah, you can see the smoke billowing out, so let's take a little look. That is a lot of smoke. It is currently 11:26 p.m. I'm not sure exactly what happened or what changed, but the heater seems to be working okay. The smoke has died down, the temperature has gone up. I left my door open a crack. I knew I was going to be coming back out, so the temperature in here is only 15.5 Celsius because the door was cracked open. But yeah, I'll show you guys the exhaust first and then we'll check the temperatures. So as you guys can see, no more big cloud of smoke coming out of there. 210. So it's back up to a normal temperature, and we'll turn this on and see what that says. 186. So I'm guessing that the Cetane Booster does do something, which is good because it's not terribly expensive, and if I add it to the waste oil, yeah, it could be, it might not solve everything, but it could be, you know, the extra help that we need to make it run for a few days. This has been running now for, it's been about 11 hours. As soon as I shut the camera off, I went and leaned against the ladder to check a temperature, and I shut the heater off. I guess we'll see if it restarts. As you guys can see, we're about 209 on the burn chamber, 210 on the housing. I was looking for smoke and I can see fluid coming part way out the inlet and then being sucked back in. I don't know if the camera will be able to pick this up. It is now the next morning. I shut the heater down at 2 a.m. and I didn't switch it over to diesel before shutting it down, so it is going to be starting on oil. Let's see what happens here. It could be interesting. It was running quite hot. It was running at 210, and I wasn't actually out here keeping an eye on it, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the burn chamber temperature was, and I don't know if it was billowing out tons of smoke, but I'm going to try to restart it and we'll see what happens. I was going to let the heater run until it shut down, but this is not acceptable. I'm going to have to shut it off. The camera doesn't pick up on this, yeah, but this is very bad. I've switched it back over to diesel and I'm gonna pull it down off the shelf. We're gonna take a look inside and see what's going on. That amount of smoke is not okay. Even if the heater continues to run forever, I'm not okay with dumping out that much smoke. So it seemed to be burning really clean when the burn chamber temperature was up over, it was like 206. And I went outside and I couldn't see anything coming out the exhaust. But it's down to like 178, 180 now. I'll actually check to see exactly what it is. I think it went up a little. It's 181. 181 on the chamber, 206 on the heat exchanger body. We'll see what's inside there. We can judge that against the way it was before. But this is not acceptable. That's way too much smoke at this point. Before we get to the end results of this test, I wanted to acknowledge that there were some differences between this test and the previous one. Those main things being the amount of fuel that we burnt and the amount of time that the heater ran for. I also wanted to acknowledge that the heater was still running when we shut it down on the last test. So when we were burning the motor oil without the cetane booster, it was making a huge cloud of smoke. I thought that that was unacceptable, and so we took it apart, looked inside, and that is what we will be comparing these results to. So ultimately, we are going to have to use the amount of buildup inside of the chamber to see if this has actually done anything beneficial for us. All right. Quite clean in there. We do have some white stuff. Oh, okay, so the cetane booster definitely helped. As you guys can see by the amount of fuel that we burnt before compared to the amount of fuel we burnt this time, this has actually worked out quite a bit better. So I'll show you guys, this is what it looks like inside of there now. I'll take photos of this and compare it, but that is what it looks like. And now I'm going to very carefully split this open and we'll take a look inside to see what it looks like in there. The clamp itself has some crud on it. It had crud on it before. I didn't bother cleaning the clamp off. But all this white hazy stuff is new. So we've obviously got carbon holding this together. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so it is cleaner inside here. I'll take some photos of this and pop them up on the screen. This seems to clean out just as easily, if not more easily. This is pretty neat actually. Oh wow, that just took almost no effort. It's like a little stalactite, is that what you call it? Those little things that grow from cave walls. I'm gonna try to take a picture of this with my iPhone. And now we're gonna crush it. Wow, wonder what that is. I am now gonna clean this up and then we are gonna move on to the next test, but that is it for this test. Cetane booster does in fact work. It does something. Does it solve all of the problems? No, but I kind of feel like it's worth using. I will definitely be using it in some upcoming tests, and it might be a part of the solution, but it is definitely not the solution. What do you guys think of this test? Do you think it's worth it? I definitely do. I would be very interested to know how this works out for you guys. I know a bunch of you are burning waste vegetable oil, automatic transmission fluid, all sorts of different E85s and waste motor oils. So if you can, try this out for yourself and then let me know in a future video or in this one how this works out for you. I would be very interested to know. In just a few minutes, we're gonna take a look at the current test that I'm running on the heater behind me. But before we do that, I'll basically end the video and say, thanks for watching. I appreciate everybody making it this far into the video. In the next one, we are going to try to keep some heat in the burn chamber area where the fuel goes in. And yeah, it's gonna start getting exciting. I spent a whole lot of time doing these tests, and so what I'm probably gonna do is just stitch together like 3 weeks of testing and just bang them out really quickly. I don't think I'm gonna do a whole lot of detailed footage on any one thing. That probably lets you know already that a bunch of those things didn't work, but there were some very surprising, very promising results, and also some things that really made me scratch my head. So, once again, thanks for watching. If you guys are interested in picking up one of these heaters, there is an affiliate link in the description below. If you guys decide to use that link, it helps me out. I get a small kickback. That is appreciated. There's also a discount code down there, VVS10 for $10 off, or VV promo for 5% off store-wide. If that sounds like something you're interested in, go check it out in the description below. Appreciated. Now, let's go take a look at the heater, and I will tell you guys a little bit of a story and briefly show you guys what I'm working with. Those of you who saw my viewer suggestion video would have seen that I talked about feeding air with an air compressor into the heater. Now, in that video, I said that this wouldn't work or that it wouldn't be practical. A funny thing happened. So, every time I take the heater down off of the shelf, it has a little bit of diesel in it. The diesel that is in there will spill out onto me, spill out onto the shelf, or I finally get it down off of the shelf and I dump the fuel out of the line. Sometimes it manages to dump its way into the heater, but most of the time it dumps its way out. I've been experimenting running 2 heaters or 2 preheaters on the heater, 2 fuel line heaters on the heater. And that means I have more fuel every time I take it down off of the shelf. So what I did, there is a fuel line sticking out of the top of the heater. I wiped that off with my fingers and decided while the heater was shutting down, I would blow that fuel inside so that it would be consumed instead of dumping out over me or just making a mess. When I blew the fuel in, I could hear it burning the fuel, and then as the fuel all went through and the air from my lungs was going into the heater, all of a sudden the heater sounded a little bit more energetic. And I thought back to saying that pumping air in wasn't a good idea, and then I decided to give it a try. So this is the setup that I have working. I need a better quality regulator for this test, so if you guys want to donate a regulator to me, that'd be fantastic. Anyway, I have, whoa, my controller falling off the shelf. I have this fitting that goes into this green line, and that green line is going down, and hopefully you guys can hear me here. This is the line from the fuel pump, and it comes over here and there is a T, and I quite simply have the air feeding in here through the T, and it is actually the air that is carrying the fuel up into the heater. I won't get into the other modifications that I have to the heater, but I'm doing some funky stuff inside of the heater right now. So anyway, this is what I'm working with. It does look quite promising. I need a regulator that is a lot more sensitive to tank pressure change. Right now I'm having an issue where when the pressure drops inside of the tank, even though I'm using a regulator, the pressure drops at my heater. And so if I was able to keep a very controllable, steady pressure to the heater, I think it would work a lot better, but it is showing a lot of promise. That will be in an upcoming video. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys next time.